Well, it's not even that much. It's not even enough for him to know. So definitely try to find it. He's an older guy. Redo this. Easy to try. Carry it out.
Sorry. I've got your block there.
Change your real quick.
Good.
Put it in here.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
It's a good morning up there, but you know, she has this in her head.
Right. I don't have a separate picture for it right now. I have some.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, might as well. Yeah. Absolutely.
Here, like, you know, however it's done. Yep.
counsel for each side ready to have the jury brought up?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
WW 18B.
Just up in 1738, so 2128.
Got down to 1733.
You may all be seated. Is the state ready to resume questioning with Ms. Eversage?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes.
You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, I believe we just finished WW 18. I think B I had handed you and you had identified as being the transcript for that call
Yes.
occurring between George and Angela, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. WW 19, please. Okay, and can you tell us what we are looking at here?
This is call number 2128. From this particular line, the call took place on June 20th, 2017 at 19:05. It was a voice call from Jake Wagner's phone to Randa Hughes's phone. The context, Randa Hughes being Chris Newcomb's significant other, fiance, I believe. So cousin to Jake and George Wagner. The context notes here say Jake calls to tell Randa Hughes to remind Chris Newcomb he is not required to talk to law enforcement.
Okay, and if we can play WW 19A, please.
Hello.
Hey, Randa.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Jake. Hey, tell Chris, and this is good for you too, tell Chris that Melo called and said a BCI talked to her again. But just remind Chris that by law, he is not required to talk to any authorities without a warrant.
Okay.
So he does not, basically he can do what Uncle Danny did. If they wanted to ask Uncle Danny questions, Uncle Danny cussed him out and told him to get the F off his property, and that's exactly what he did. So if he wants to, if he wants, he can tell him to put harassment of the whole family, including us. Other than that, we don't have to talk to him.
Okay.
And make sure he uses the word harassment too, because that's what they are.
Okay, I will.
But other than that, I think Mallard told us that they was actually looking for Chris to talk to him.
Yeah, they was.
Okay, well, yeah, just tell him that he doesn't have to talk to him, and it's probably better if he didn't.
Okay.
But anyway, that's what's probably you got that.
All right, so I didn't answer your guys' calls earlier. My phone was dead, and I had to help make you out.
Oh, that's okay right there. That's not a problem. But
Okay.
anyway, tell Chris that we enjoyed, we got a license change today, and I failed my test the first time, so, yeah, I failed my license. If it's a written test, yeah, I failed it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it was a hard question. It was about alcohol, and I know nothing about alcohol, so I failed it. But anyway, I got a couple more phone calls to make, so I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, and again, that is a conversation between Jake Wagner and Randa Hughes?
Yes.
Okay. And does that audio fully capture the call that was made on June 20th of 2017 that was intercepted by you guys?
Yes.
Can you, what's been marked as State's Exhibit WW19B, if you could look at that and tell me what that is.
This is the transcript to the recording that was just played, call number 2128.
WW20.
This is call number 5178 on this particular line. It took place on July 15th, 2017 at 20:58. It is a voice call from George Wagner's phone to Randa Hughes' phone, and in this particular instance, Chris Newcomb, her significant other, was using Randa's phone. The context notes say, George calls to tell Chris Newcomb not to talk about George or Jake to anyone anymore.
And if we could please play WW20A.
Yes.
Everybody be quiet. Dad,
George.
hey,
Hello.
will you do me a big favor?
Okay.
Anybody that mentions anything about me or Jake or anything, don't talk to them about it anymore. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Over house.
All right, bye.
Okay. And again, that was George Wagner calling Chris Newcomb, or calling Randa Hughes' phone.
Yes.
Speaking to Chris Newcomb.
Yes.
Okay. And does that fairly and accurately capture the conversation that was intercepted and recorded by you guys in 2017?
Yes.
Handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit WW20B. If you could look at that and tell me what that is.
That is the transcript to call number 5178 that was just played, conversation between George and Chris Newcomb.
Okay. And WW21?
This is call number 5183. On this particular line, it took place on July 15th, 2017 at 20:59. It is a voice call from George Wagner's phone to the Newcomb landline. In this case, it was used by Chris Newcomb. The context of the call, the notes are, George calls to tell Chris Newcomb not to talk about George or Jake to anyone anymore. Then the previous call, Chris had instructed George to call the landline, and this is the Newcomb landline.
Okay. And are you able to tell the time this occurs approximately 1 minute later?
Yeah, 5178 was at 20:58, and 5183 is at 20:59. So.
Okay. And if we could please play WW21A.
If you shoot it, I'll take it away.
What am I shooting?
Not you, I was talking to Pike. Anyways, don't talk
Hey,
to
do you hear
me
about
about
Danny?
anything about us or what's going on or the stuff that I sold before I left and stuff. Nobody.
What are you talking about?
Because Randy went down there talking to my grandfather and told him that he was helping you with that truck and wanted to know where all them guns and ammo that me and Jake sold and stuff was before we left.
He asked me about your papa having all them guns, all them old guns. I have no idea that he sold them.
Well, he told Papa that you told him that me and Jake sold them and he wanted to know where they went.
No, Brandy, the only guns he asked me about was the old guns Grandpa had, the old rusted up thing.
Yeah.
The old ones that was all back in the back.
He was trying to get Papa to tell him where all them ones that me and Jake sold before we left. I don't know why the heck he wants that unless he's trying to get that frickin' reward, but he ain't gonna get because BCI left them ones.
No, the only guns he even asked me about was your grandpa's. He didn't ask nothing about yours.
Well, Papa said that he told him that he was asking you about them, and he told him to ask Grace.
No, I mean, that's the only guns he asked about was them old junky guns your grandpa had back there forever.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that was rusted up and useless.
Yeah, the ones wouldn't even shoot.
Yeah, those ones. When he had all that big bunch of ammo.
I don't know, just heads up, if they ask anything, just say I don't know.
No, there ain't no problem. Did you hear about that?
Okay, and again, that was a phone conversation between who?
George Wagner and Chris Newcomb.
Okay, and does that audio recording fairly and accurately depict that portion of that conversation that occurred on July 15th of 2017?
Yes.
Hanna, you want to mark the State's Exhibit WW21B? If you could also look at that and tell me what that is, please.
This is a transcript of the portion of call number 5183 that was just played between Chris Newcomb and George Wagner.
Okay. And is that the extent of the audios from the 2017 intercept warrants that, well, I wouldn't say that all of those, that there aren't more that were identified as pertinent, but that were selected for presentation today?
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Eveslage, can you tell us, first of all, did you ever attend a course specifically regarding interception warrants?
Yes, there's a class called Electronic Surveillance at the Peace Officers Training Academy, APATA. It's a statewide training academy. It's in our internal, within my unit's training schedule. I attended it in 2015, I believe, and it was a 2-day course learning about the necessary court orders needed to obtain the interception warrants, the objectives, things like that, and just kind of the general knowledge about electronic surveillance.
Okay, and how long is that course?
2 days, and there's a written portion at the end of the course.
Okay, and have you participated in other interception warrants?
Yes.
Approximately how many would you say you have?
I just counted the other day. I've participated in or monitored on 9 unique intercepts.
Okay. And can you tell us, as part of interception warrants, is it common for investigators to conduct various investigative activities in order to continue to keep the individuals talking about the crimes or the offenses?
Yes.
Okay. And was that something that was done in this case as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I would like to focus your attention now to a different task other than the interception warrant. And specifically, I know, again, you've testified previously that you often are asked to go through various records or documents that have been previously obtained. And I would ask you if one of your tasks in this case was to go through the contents of a laptop that was recovered from the Wagners at the Montana border.
Yes.
Okay.
Objection as to which way? Objection as to which way?
Do you intend to ask further questions about the laptop? Or?
Yeah, I mean, was that laptop recovered from the vehicle belonging to the Wagners?
Yes.
And they were all together in one vehicle, is
yes.
that correct? Okay. turning your attention to some of the items you looked through, and just go ahead and tell us the various things that you did look through on this particular laptop.
So there were all kinds of items on the laptop itself. There is internet browsing activity. There were hundreds of thousands of images on the laptop itself. Some were kind of just junk, system images. Some were, pictures from Apple devices that were transferred to the laptop. There were also backups of previous iPhones belonging to Jake Wagner that were of special interest. Any activity that you could do on a computer was something that we were hoping to look at.
Okay.
In general.
Were there backups from other devices as well?
Yes, there was an old iPad mini. I believe at one point that was used by Hanna Rhoden when she lived with the Wagners. And there was an older iPhone, I believe, but I don't recall right now who used that.
Okay. And can you tell us, were there also screenshots located on that device?
Yes, we located over 1,300 screenshots of Facebook communications found in the pictures on the laptop. It appeared that there were thousands of images that were all labeled how you would expect any Apple device to name the file name on the picture, so it would say IMG _ and then a number. So there's thousands of them that were screenshots from an iPad. You can see on the top where you would see, like on the older iPads, you could see it says iPad and then a Wi-Fi symbol, a timestamp in the middle, and then like the battery on, level on the right. So there were thousands of these screenshots of Facebook communications, and as well as all kinds of other screenshots in the pictures portion of the laptop.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to pull up, I guess, XX. Okay, and what are we looking at there?
This is just a cover sheet. BCI item 62 was the numbering system for our cybercrimes unit. This particular laptop is an HP Envy laptop. It was just given item 62 for evidence collection purposes.
Okay, and then XX2?
So as I mentioned previously, we uncovered more than 1,300 screenshots of Facebook Messenger conversations in the pictures portion of the laptop. These were communications on Facebook Messenger that appeared to have come from Tabitha, her mother, conversations involving Hanna Rhoden, all kinds of Facebook Messenger conversations. There were also searches within the Messenger conversations for particular names like having to do with the Wagners, so Angela or Bullvine or Wagner, or just different names or terms that would be associated with the Wagner family. There were screenshots of those as well, along with the results that were, if any, were available in the content of the messages, as well as over 300 screenshots of just Hanna Rhoden's conversations with either Tabitha or Tabitha's mother, Tess. And those screenshots were taken from about July of 2015 to April 21st, 2016.
Okay. And you indicated there was more than 1,300 screenshots of Facebook Messenger. And again, can you describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is Facebook Messenger a private conversation or is it a public conversation?
It's a private conversation.
Okay. And specifically, I think you indicated it was Tabitha and her mother. What is her mother's name?
Patricia Tess, I think her Facebook profile was Patricia Tess Ruggles. I believe she uses other last names as well.
Okay. And then you said there were at least 300 of those, or more than 300 of those, that were screenshots of Hanna Rhoden's conversation on Facebook Messenger, and that was specifically with either Tabitha or Tess, correct?
Yes. There were also screenshots of Hannah's profile or posts or pictures, as well as like Corey Holdren's pictures, posts, things like that, like tagged images. There were screenshots of other Rhoden family member posts. that would have been either publicly available on Facebook or privately available with, if you were friends with the person. So there were just different types of screenshots, not only just conversations on Messenger, but also posts, anything that was posted on someone's profile.
Okay. XX3.
This was a screenshot we identified after reading the Facebook conversations. I've previously testified in regards to this message between Hanna Rhoden and, it says on the profile, Patricia Tess Howard, which was another last name used by Tess. So in this message, in this conversation, Hanna says, "I won't sign papers ever. It won't happen. They will have to kill me first." And you can see on the right side of the content of the conversation, there's a timestamp for each of the messages. And the last message that in the screenshot there is at 8:45 p.m. And there was a screenshot of this particular conversation taken at 9:16 p.m. So fairly soon after the conversation took place.
Okay. And you have the message sent 8:38 p.m. Is that a different message, or?
That's the "I won't sign papers ever" message. That one was of particular interest, obviously.
Okay. And then the 8:45 was the response from Ms. Howard?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. And you can see up at the top where it says facebook.com, there is a timestamp on whatever device was taking the screenshot. So it's 9:16 p.m. is where we got that, as well as the information from the picture on the laptop itself.
So just a little more than a half an hour after the last message
Yes.
was sent. Okay. Okay, XX4.
Located in the browser history of the laptop itself were two specific searches of interest. These were from the search engine Bing. The first one was from April 3rd, 2016. The timestamp on it was 11:24 p.m. And the search content is forms for declaration of appointment of guardian for my children in the event of my death or incapacity. And in my previous testimony, we've covered paperwork that was titled in the same fashion. And also the printing stamp on the bottom and the URL indicated that it was printed on April 3rd, 2016. This is the same time frame as the paperwork that we recovered that was printed. The second search was on April 4th, 2016 at 12:39 p.m. And the content of the search was, "I need a sample form for guardianship for my child in case of my death in Ohio." And those were two items of interest from the Internet Explorer history on the laptop.
Okay. And was it also discovered that on April 3rd of 2016 that those documents were in fact printed from this device?
Yes, one of our cybercrimes analysts determined, based on their specific knowledge of how that works with
Basis is.
She's testifying about somebody else's birthday.
Well, maybe there needs to be more foundation for this.
Okay. How did you learn whether or not that was printed on that date?
From a cybercrimes analyst.
Okay. Did they show you the indications of that on the device itself?
Yes, there was something called the print spool that was a record kept in the computer itself, and that indicated that the form was printed on April 3rd, 2016 from that device.
Okay. And then XX5.
This is a cover sheet indicating I'm transitioning here for the iPhone backups that were found on the laptop. So what was uncovered on the laptop was, before iCloud became more widely used, you could plug your phone in, and you could still do this, but you could plug your phone into the computer and back up all of the content of your phone onto a computer, and then if you got a new phone, if you lost your phone, or if the contents were somehow corrupted, you could load all of the content that you previously had put on the laptop or a computer, whatever device you've loaded it, back onto your iPhone and have all of that data recovered. So there were portions of, I believe, 3 different iPhone backups for Jake Wagner's iPhone that were recovered as part of the search of the laptop.
Okay. 6.
These were Google searches that were recovered from like the 2 main iPhone backups. They're designated here on the left. This is the identifier for the backup itself. It's just like the shorthand notation for what backup it came from. The Google searches here, in particular, the first 4 and the last 2 are all in reference to Colt 1911-22 related searches. The first 4 are on June 17th, 2015, Colt Railgun 22, Colt 1911-22 Railgun clips, and then the last 2 on April 8th, 2016, Colt 1911-22. And then another search within this occurred on April 4th, 2016 for a term solvent catcher. And when you type solvent catcher into Google or any other search engine, in my particular experience, I typed it into Google and was redirected, did you mean solvent catcher? And it gave results for a solvent catcher or a solvent trap. It's an item, cylindrical item that you can be used to clean a firearm. But there are also related searches. And
This is publicly available, Your Honor, and she is testifying as to where that search takes you.
Well, I'll overrule the objection, but testify.
so when you're doing the Google searches, it brings up solvent trap kits, solvent catcher. There's different, interchangeable terminology. But if you scroll down, there are other related searches that Google provides. And for instance, one of them can a solvent catcher be used as a suppressor? Is a solvent catcher or trap illegal? Those types of searches.
Okay. And again, these were all searches that were of interest to you and the investigators on the team, correct?
Yes.
Okay. XX7.
These were additional Google searches from a backup of Jake Wagner's iPhone. These in particular are all related to Alaska, and they all took place in April of 2016 prior to the murders. So starting from the top, 6 acres, Alaska real estate, Alaska homes, Alaska farms, how much does lumber cost, a lumber store, Lowe's information, internet in Seward, Alaska, Alaska snowboarding, Alaska parades, just different Alaska-related searches prior to the murders.
XX8.
This was a Google search on April 21st, 2016 at 2306, found in the Google searches, so the night of the homicides, and the content of the search was Boondock Saints 2 Ding Dong Scene. And we've linked a video of what the results you get when you search for this scene on YouTube.
Okay. And if you can go ahead and play that.
Swear to something.
Ding dong, motherfucker! Ding dong!
Fucking A. Said it.
And you indicated the date was 4/21/16, and 2306 is what time of night?
11:06 p.m.
And XX9?
These are additional Google searches following the homicides related to press releases and the murders themselves. So, starting from the top, Pike Co. Ohio press release, Pike Co. Ohio News, Pike County Murders, Jake Wagner, Victims of Violent Crimes Fund, Jake Wagner Topics. Topics was a discussion website that was, publicly available. There was a large discussion chain with thousands of pages related to the murders. Corey Holdren and Hanna Rhoden, and all of these searches took place after the murders.
Okay. And XX10?
This was a photo uncovered from the iPhone backup of one of Jake's iPhones. The picture itself was taken on January 31st, 2015, and it's a Colt 1911-22.
And I'm going to call that particular slide XX10A, and then I'm going to hand you what's been marked as XX10B as in boy. And if you could just tell me, is that the same image as what you have depicted in your slide?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Now, in your slide, there's a date in the upper right-hand corner. Is that something that you have placed there?
Yes, and as well as the, you can barely see it on the bottom here, but just the image name from the laptop itself.
Okay. Image underscore 0142.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. And XX11A?
This was an additional image uncovered from Jake Wagner's iPhone backup. It was an image of a hand holding what appears to be the same firearm from the previous image. This one was taken on June 15th, 2015. And again, the image name, image underscore 1504 from the laptop.
Okay. And again, that date is something that you placed on there?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. I'm going to approach you with what has been marked as State's Exhibit XX11B. If you could look at that and again tell me, is that the same image that is shown on the screen and marked as State's Exhibit XX11A?
Yes.
Okay. And these are all images that, or those both are images that you located on that laptop that was a result of an iPhone backup belonging to Jake Wagner.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Defense may cross-examine.
Good afternoon, how are you? Good to see you again. We have some questions. Those last two images we just saw, XX10 and XX11, I think 10A and 11A.
10B and 11B.
I'm sorry, let me look at those. I don't want to misidentify. XX10B and XX11B, you're saying that's the exact same gun?
It appears to be in the picture.
Well, let me ask you this. XX10B, that appears to be a very light sand-colored metal on the gun. Is that true?
I think color is open to interpretation, or it's very subjective.
Could we put XX10B on the screen, please? Okay, this is XX10B on the screen is the same as the document I'm showing you, is that right?
Yes.
All right, and what's the background color there, would you say?
A beige carpet.
All right, and would the barrel of the gun be very similar to that beige carpet?
Seems to be fairly similar. That appears to be inside carpeting. The second picture is outside with natural light. I think different lighting can have effect on colors, on the appearance of colors.
Sure, let's look at XX11B next. And that's what you were just talking about. This is an outside photograph, right?
It appears to be, yes.
And would you agree with me that the color of the gun appears much different than the previous photo?
I mean, it looks different, but I would attribute that to being an inside versus an outside picture. Colors can look different.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, you testified this morning about a few things, so I'd just like to make sure I understand what you were talking about. So you're part of the team that goes out west and ends up in Alaska at the border, correct?
Not in Alaska, I was in Montana.
I'm sorry, Montana.
Yeah, Montana at the border.
My mistake. You were part of the team that first went to North Dakota, then went to Montana.
Yes.
All right. And what was your function on this team when you went out there?
Myself and the other analysts assigned to the case went to the border to provide analytical support in preparation for the interviews that were planned to be conducted.
What do you mean by analytical support?
We had access to and knowledge of all kinds of different data from cell phones and messages and different things that may have been important to cover in an interview.
Okay. Did you participate in any of the interviews?
No.
And while Mr. Wagner George over here and his family members were being interviewed, that's when the 2 listening devices were installed on their vehicle. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes. I wasn't a part of that, but I had knowledge of that. That was the plan.
That was the plan.
Yeah, I was not right there when that happened.
Right. Get these people out of the car, separate them, give us time to put these listening devices into the vehicle, correct?
That was my understanding of the plan, yes.
Okay. And there were 2 separate listening devices, if I understand you. One was kind of a body wire type thing that was installed in the vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And that was kind of one of the local law enforcement's suggestions. Is that fair to say?
I'm not sure where that originated from. I wouldn't.
Fair enough. Was that on constantly? Do you know?
I didn't have access to that right then. I don't know when it came on, or I don't know that time frame.
Okay. Was that different than the device you brought from Ohio to install?
I mean, the foundation of the device itself, the type is completely different. I don't know any specifics about that device. I don't, the identifiers or what it is.
Okay.
Just generally, I have knowledge of it.
Okay. Did you listen to anything that was recorded on that particular device?
I did after the fact, but not at that present time, no.
Okay. When did you listen to items from that device?
From the body wire, I can't say for certain. I don't.
Okay. Do you know how long it remained in the vehicle?
I don't recall off the top of my head. That wasn't something that I had prepared for this testimony, so I don't.
Okay. I mean, was it there for a month, 2 months, 3 months? Any idea?
That would just be speculation.
Okay, fair enough. You don't want to... Now, the Ohio device, you brought along a specific device to install into the vehicle.
Our tech ops agent, yes.
Yes, your tech ops. And as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, that device is basically a transmitter of sorts. Is that correct?
I mean, I think that's a fair description of it. I mean, you had to use a phone at the listening post to call into it.
That's what I'm getting to.
You had to activate it to record and provide information for us. It had a cell phone number that could be called, and then you would record and transmit information from there. But I don't know of exactly how it works specifically.
Understood. You're not the tech person.
Yes.
But the way that device worked is once it was installed to be activated, someone had to call a specific phone number to that device to activate it.
Yes.
All right. And then that call originated from Franklin County. Is that right?
Yes.
From the wire group.
Yes.
All right. And then whatever is being listened to is recorded in Franklin County, correct?
So it was intercepted in Franklin County, yes, and then if it was minimized, it was not recorded. If it was deemed pertinent or needed further attention, then it was recorded.
So not everything was recorded, even though when the device was activated, not everything was recorded.
Right, I mean, you had to call into the device, so it was up to the monitor themselves to make that call, and there may have been gaps in between calls, I don't.
Sure. So do you know, concerning the various recordings we've listened to today so far, were you the person calling in on each of those?
I was at the border, so I was not one of the initial monitors. We were coming back from the border, we were processing information. I wasn't one of the initial monitors, and I can't recall for sure if I was one of the monitors at the tail end when we got back from the border.
Okay.
I may have, but I'd have to look at the monitoring schedule and records.
Sure. And with respect to the device installed in the car, what we've seen so far was from May of 17, so pretty much right after it was installed. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, as soon as they departed the border, my understanding is the monitors attempted to make contact with the device.
Sure. So with respect to the Ohio device, a call has to be placed in to activate it, right?
Yes.
And then the person placing the call decides what to listen to and what not to listen to.
Yes, that's the role of the monitor.
That's the role of the monitor. And if they want to listen to something, then they record it.
I mean, it's up to what has been advised by the supervising attorney, so they can't just listen to anything, but they're following the minimization instructions.
Whatever, with their rules that they have to follow. If they want to record something, they record it, correct?
Yes, and if it's minimized, it's not being recorded.
Right. So you're only recording certain things, you're not recording everything.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know how long the Ohio device stayed in this particular vehicle?
I don't remember when it was removed.
Do you know where it was removed?
I wasn't a part of that. I don't recall.
Now these devices were installed May 21st of 2017. Do you know when the Wagners arrived back in Ohio?
Again, I didn't prepare any to review that timeline. It was shortly after. I mean, they had traveled back from the border, so within a few days they made it back to Ohio. I mean, it's thousands of miles to come back to Ohio.
Sure. It was your understanding they were traveling from Alaska. They were stopped in Montana, but they arrived back in Ohio.
Yes.
And do you know how long they were in Ohio before they returned to Alaska?
I mean, it was. I don't remember.
Okay, well, some of the phone calls, as opposed to the devices in the car, some of the phone calls that we've listened to so far were conducted, or recorded, I should say, and conducted in June of 2017.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. So within 3 weeks of the border interviews, on late May, we were recording them in Alaska in mid-June. So within a few weeks.
Sure. So those phone calls that we've listened to so far, the Wagners are actually back up in Alaska at this point.
Yes, I mean, they're discussing, like, there were some where Jake and George were on their way back, driving separately. But yes, I mean, the intention was to be traveling back to Alaska.
Sure. Now, on the 21st of May, as these devices were being installed into their vehicle, that's when George was being interrogated inside, correct?
Each of the Wagners were kept in separate rooms in preparation for the interviews. I was around. I wasn't in any of those interview rooms.
Yeah. Are you aware that George was interviewed or interrogated, however you want to call it, for about 5 hours or so before he returned to the vehicle? Are you aware of that?
It was I don't know a specific time frame, but it was a matter of hours that most of them were in the rooms.
All right. So that first recording we heard this morning, where George is in the car with his son, that's after being inside for at least 5 hours of interviews or interrogations. Is that fair to say?
I don't recall that being the same day that was the border interview. That was after the border interviews took place.
Do you know when, how much time had passed since the interviews? Do you know?
If I could refer back to the first exhibit, I can.
Please look at whatever you need to.
So the call number 360 from the Wagner vehicle wire was recorded on May 25th, 2017 at 12:57. So that would be a matter of days after. If my memory serves me correct, we were there on May 21st. So
about 4 days.
4 days after.
All right. And so Do you know how many attempts or recordings were made concerning the vehicle?
I don't have any numbers to provide. I mean, they were attempting regular calls to the device. That there would be periods, you're traveling through rural areas, you wouldn't have cell service because this was reliant upon cell service. So if you didn't have service, you couldn't reach the device. But there were monitors there making regular efforts to contact the device. But I don't have any specific, there wasn't like a schedule. Not off the top of my head.
That last call you just referenced had a number, I believe, 30 something.
360.
I'm sorry, 360. Is that numbering device of any significance? Was that the 360th call?
So there can be data sessions that will come through on the Intercept itself that aren't calls. It's just like data or transmissions. So those are all numbered by the system. It's not anything that we do. So that was just a designation from the system itself. So there could have been 360 calls, but without looking at all the prior ones, I wouldn't be able to say those were all calls.
Okay, and some of the exhibits you identified earlier today, for example, WW12 was called 1503. Does that have any significance for us? Is that the 1503rd call or?
Same principle. Each of those call numbers are by line or by the phone number that was intercepted. So those are just numbered for organization by the system. There's nothing other significant other than that, just the numbering.
Okay, it's just a numbering system. You're not saying that's the 1503rd call.
Yeah, it's not necessarily, it's not required that that's the number of calls.
Just trying to understand your system.
Yeah.
That's all. Now, you were at the border, I believe you just said.
Yes.
Were there any civilians from Ohio other than the Wagner family at the border?
Myself, a civilian analyst.
Okay, you consider yourself a civilian analyst, okay.
I'm a law enforcement personnel, but I'm not a sworn officer or anything like that.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Other than individuals from our office that were, in the attorneys, myself and another analyst and the agents, there weren't any other people.
Okay, fair enough.
Other than, the local law enforcement as well at the border. I don't remember all their agencies.
From Ohio, I was talking.
Yes, from Ohio, it was BCI and Attorney General's office personnel, as well as a local from Pike County.
All right. I believe we played a portion of WW12, which is called 1503, this morning. We would ask that the entire call be played. That the entire call be played for the jury. It's not terribly long.
So
I don't have to really do that without some work. That's why I suggested as much you guys can.
It wasn't provided to defense.
Yes, we understood that they had the entire.
Is there a speaker there?
There's not. I'll have to hook into the.
You don't have the microphone there? Or whatever's the best way to broadcast it on the crowd.
So while we're getting that, let me ask a couple other questions. Do you know how many phone call intercepts were made? I mean, there was a there was a recording device on various phones, correct? You identified.
it's not a device installed on the phone. It's the phone company routing communications to our network or server. There were 5 target phones that were intercepted in 2017, as well as the devices in the vehicle.
All right. So the phone calls that were intercepted in 2017, do you know how many phone calls were actually intercepted?
I don't have a number. I didn't prepare any of that for this testimony.
Fair to say hundreds?
Yeah, there were definitely hundreds.
Maybe thousands?
That would be speculative. I don't.
Okay, there were a lot.
Yeah.
Fair to say. And so you've provided us with a handful that you wanted to present, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, can we just have a short break to get this lined up? Perhaps
Yes.
10 minutes.
All right. I don't know if 10 minutes gives the jury time to do anything or not, but we will permit you to leave your seats there and go down stairs to the bathroom or jury room, or wherever you intend to go for the next 10 minutes. Again, while you're on this 10-minute break, you're not to discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else, not to permit the case to be discussed with you or in your presence, not to form or express an opinion concerning the case, to do no research at all as to the facts or as to the law of the case from any source at all, not to read, view, or listen to any reports or accounts of the case from any source at all, and have no contact with participants in the case, including parties, counsel, or witnesses. In 10 minutes, please be at the jury room to be brought up there by court personnel. Anything further from counsel before we recess for 10 minutes? We are in recess for 10 minutes.
So if we're doing this, we might have to get on this. If not, we'll just have to hook in here.
How is this going to be played? Is it over here with that mic picking it up?
They jumped it over to our stuff.
Oh,
So
all right,
it
okay.
should play just like everything else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. You this morning you testified about States Exhibit WW12, which was identified as call 1503. Do you remember that?
I'm looking at the transcript right here, 12B, yes.
Okay. And there was a portion of that played, is that right?
Yes.
All right. Do you know approximately how long the entire call is?
At the top of the transcript itself, it has the identifiers from the system, and it lists 1343.
All right. If we could have the entire call played, Your Honor, and we would we'll later identify this as Wagner Exhibit 25, the entire call, 1503.
And state objects to it, is that right or not?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So the objection's overruled, this defense may play the
Yeah.
defense.
Hello? Hey, let me talk to Mom real quick. Okay, she's down school with kids. Are you gonna be there? Second, I'll have to call you back. No, you can just tell her, hang on, I gotta catch my breath. They've been down there 3 times since every time. And, each time they called Dwayne and gave him a courtesy call saying they didn't need permission to be down there. That's bullshit. Right. Well, you know why they didn't I don't think they got a search warrant, so I don't think the judge would give it where they done last time. Didn't find anything. Yeah. And I think that's why they're doing it down there and not at Granny's. And Granny told them to take a hike afterwards, basically. And the judge won't give you another search warrant. And down there, see, Dwayne don't live there. And they think they can just get away with saying we don't need it. And Dwayne won't come from Cincinnati to tell them to take a hike. Yeah. But they told Joe that they were searching for buried firearms and buried bullets. Fucking idiots. Yeah. There's a Taco and a Bobcat down there digging up everything. Where are they digging at? All around the barn by the house, all around the back side of the house, all through the hog blocks by the hog huts. There's enough scrap on down there to keep them busy. No, I know. They're digging up all around the garage that we had half built because of where it had all that new fill raised up. Yeah. They're digging all of it. They're a bunch of idiots. But that's okay because this here, where they're doing all this stuff, search warrant and everything, we're going to tell the attorney that. And where all these people on Facebook have been walking all over that place and all over them barns saying this, they must be guilty. Who's to say what big motherfuckers don't put down there? Yeah, 30 motherfuckers. Really, I love it. Well, what they're doing, what they're doing is a load of crap. And I don't know why they even think they can get away with this. I know it. But anyway, I love you. I'll see you again, okay? All right. I was going to tell you something else. We finally got to see the wild grizzly. All right. You know, we seen a wild grizzly. Jake about took out a whole herd of stone sheep. Box and paying the bill, and then we're leaving. I'm going to stop over here at the gun store real quick. And what do you want, Glock or another Beretta? I don't know. I'll probably wait till you get down here. I'll go ahead and go. Listen, I love you. Be sure you probably can't consent your driver's license. I don't have to have one. According to the guy at the border, the last ain't like other states. You can come here and buy what you want. Listen, I love you. Get your knowledge as far as the sleep. We'll try to get all the way in. No, me and Jake's been doing the same routine all the way up through here. We drive till 1 a.m., sleep for 3 hours, get up and go again. That'll work. I love you. But then I was going to tell you this. The last time he broke down there in Toad River, they had that nasty bison burger that wasn't bison. Yeah. He pulled in to get fuel, and then he pulled in, the trailer brakes lit on fire, like literally on fire. Okay. And, well, we got everything fixed on it, and then the trailer brakes weren't working. and the brake lights weren't working, and the truck wasn't doing that, so we went. Checking fuses and wiring and everything. I said, Jake, just move over. She moved over. I cut the brake booster loose, got rid of the brake booster, got my truck, got the spare brake booster, put it on, and guess what?
Good work.
It was fixed.
Yeah.
Then we got back to the right at the edge of the U-Cog, and he blew the power steering pump thing apart, and it blew the lid off of it. It still broke.
No power steering?
He has power steering, but he does pop over a little bit and put fluid in it so they have no lid on top of it now. Somehow they pressurized and blowed it off.
Okay.
And his fuel tank, we had to take the seal out of the fuel cap because it's somehow his vent tube's plugged up in it. We're going to have to drop the tank, and it's sucking like imploding it like the tank in the bed of the truck would get. Parts flying off of them every freaking where. They're ripped and shredded and covered in mud and dirt and grime and diesel and.
I told you so. Everybody got to drive it up there.
Yeah, well, the guy at the Canadian border, he told me for $3,800, I could have got a 53-foot container and had it all shipped for $3,800.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, the one that Mom called all said $10,000-$12,000. He said we called the wrong one. He also said, like, the deer heads and everything, he said for $4,000, we could have loaded it all on the yellow truck and sent it up there, including the deer heads. Because the deer heads, he said, the only way that wildlife works is in our personal trailer. He said it's in a commercial trailer with a seal on the back of it. They have to bust the seal and look in. But even if there's deer heads stacked nice and neat on a pallet, that commercial trailer, they can't do nothing about it.
Yeah, well, that's good to know now.
Did Mom tell you what the Alaskan border guy said? We pulled up to the border. I thought we were going to be there for 10 hours. And we went, having passports, I said, pull over this side up there and walk inside. And me and Jake looked at each other like, oh, here we go again. So walked inside, sat down, the guy came back around, started out the door. I said, hey, the keys for my ignition is in the truck, and the toolbox keys and stuff, and the trailer box lock keys are on the key ring. He said, what are you telling me for? I said, well, don't you need it? He said, you're coming out here to open it all up for me. I ain't going to do all this. Get out here. Now, Canada wouldn't let us leave the freaking office. I get out there and I unlocked the door and he looked in, he's like, yep. By the way, we're Americans, we're not Canadians. We don't do the Canadian style inspection. And he looked to the back door where his horse trailer opened, looked a couple times, looked over at the flatbed, tilted his head a little bit and said, okay, I've got X-ray vision. There's nothing in there. You're good to go. Have a nice day.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, he's only been here 3 weeks. He's from Texas.
Hey, Texas.
Yeah, he's from Texas. Then I told her, yeah, and he said, but I didn't ask if there any wildlife or guns and ammo. And I got on there and said, no, we smoked all of our guns and ammo and stuff before we left. And he said, oh, how's that make you feel? I said, well, we don't feel American anymore. He said, I wouldn't either if I didn't own a gun. He said, we're going to fix that problem. He said, go right down the road, 90 miles to tow, go to the gun store. They got the world's largest selection in Alaska, and you walk in there and buy you one. Be an American. I liked it. The Canadian Border Patrol.
I can see it.
Anyway, the Canadian Border Patrol, they took Jake's door panels off, the plastic cow piece on the front of the truck where the windshield wipers come through, tore it out, tore all the fender wells out, tore his complete dash apart, took the gauge cluster out, stereo out, everything.
They put it all back?
Not completely right. Jake had to pop it all back together the way it's supposed to be. They tore it all completely out, combed the frame end to end, ran the dope dogs around it, took everything out of the trailers, front to back, went through it all. Then when they got done with all that, they helped us put it back together. And what else did they do? They strip searched Jake, took pictures of all of his tattoos and acted like they were going to handcuff him, and wrote down descriptions of his tattoos and questioned the crap out of him, and then took the card out of his wallet for BCI, and a whole bunch of other stuff to him, and They was complete dicks.
Yeah, what did they say when you got done?
They also took all this paperwork, went through all of that, his folder and everything, which is the weirdest thing ever. They didn't touch my folder, didn't tear my truck apart, they just crawled under it and ran the dog around it. They didn't touch my folder, didn't touch my paperwork, didn't do anything, didn't question me, nothing. Didn't strip search me, didn't search me at all. So, what I'm saying is that right there proves that BCI called them and had that done deliberately. And that deliberately had it done to Jake.
Yeah.
If it was just protocol, they'd have done what they did to Jake to me too, and they didn't. And this is what I told Jake, because Jake, I think Jake was kind of wigging out because they were doing it again, basically. But I sat there for 10 hours, Dad. Now 10 hours, I'm sorry, I watched everything and every one. 10 hours worth, the one guy that was on Jake's thing, because apparently we ain't allowed to talk to each other's case officers. So like my truck had its own officer and its own group to be searched, so in the case. Well, I'm not allowed to talk to his ain't allowed to talk to me. So anyway, one of the ones on Jake, I watched every officer in that place. Every single one of them. Every one looked similar to each other, the men, the women, they all had like similar Canadian facial structures. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They all had the Canadian accent, they all talked like Canadians, they all said like normal Canadians. They just didn't say A or anything. They just talked normal, but talked like Canadian. Well, one of the ones on Jake's, he looked identical to a Southern Ohio man, but he's wearing a Canadian Border Patrol uniform. He did not have a Canadian accent, but he said every single word he said A at the end of it. But he did not have a Canadian accent. Perfectly clean, didn't look like he'd been working hard all day, nothing. Which, you know, that's given. He might not have. He might have just been, you know, taking it easy for the day. But, you know, the one difference that threw everything off to tell me that I think he was a BCI officer? No. Out of 70-some officers in that Canadian Border Patrol, I watched every one of them come and go. Every one of them had a Smith & Wesson 9mm attached to their side except for that one. He had a Glock. Well, anyway, don't worry about it. Every Canadian Border Patrol we've been through has packed Smith & Wesson. You know what BCI carries?
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
I'm just saying, they carry Glock.
Yeah, but don't worry about it.
They did throw a fit about your bulletproof vest plates.
What about?
About them bulletproof vest plates in there. They wanted to know where the rest of the plates was, and they wanted to know where the vest was. I told him, so I don't know where the vest is. I know my dad had one, but I don't know where it's at. I've never seen it. I just know the plates are here.
Yeah, the BCI's got it.
Well, I didn't know they had it, so. They were being dicks, and then, there's something else I was going to tell you. I forget what it was. Oh, there's a great big cattle farm for sale in the bottom half of British Columbia. It's like 3,000 acres. Fucking Canadians. I agree. But anyway, the guy at the border said, we don't do Canadians. He said, just for that, and for what they did to you, they did that to Americans. He said, the next Canadian that comes through, I'm going to search them for 10 hours. 10 hours? I loved it. Only Texas can do that. Okay, I'll just tell you. Yeah, Texas don't take no crap.
Yeah, well, listen, I love you. Get you some sleep and move on down the road.
I'm not going to sleep. We're going to be like, I'm 500. You don't want me to go there and get you one now?
Yeah, I'm positive. I love you.
I'll talk to you when I get down there.
Hey, listen, that's going to be the hardest. Be careful.
Oh, hey, I forgot to tell you, I found you a truck down there in Wasilla.
All right, what is it?
It's a I think it's 95, single cab Dodge. It's like the was, but it's got a 5-speed in it, 160,000 miles, 4-wheel drive, and it's not rotted out or anything, but it's got a flatbed on it.
That'll work.
He wants $6,000 for it.
Yeah, I like flatbeds. Well, anyway, listen, I love you. You be careful, and I'll see you here in a little bit. You hear me? Hey, what? If you get to sleep at the ground and pull over for
I will. Me and Jake ain't tired. Jake is, you might be, he ate on the drop.
Yeah, all right. Well, listen, I love you.
Yeah,
be careful. All right.
Bye.
correct, that was a complete phone call 1503, is that correct?
That's how it was labeled on the recording, so I believe it's the entirety.
Okay. And if we could have WW15, which is call 1586.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to conclude. Some things that we do don't involve the jury. We're going to conclude this hearing for today and begin it again tomorrow morning. You'll be going home. Do not discuss this case until you're back here tomorrow morning, you're under the same admonition you've been under. Do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. Do not permit this case to be discussed with you by anyone or in your presence by anyone. Do not form or express an opinion concerning the case until it's finally submitted to you for deliberation and verdict. Do not do any research at all from any source at all concerning this case, either as to the facts or as to the law. Do not read, view, or listen to any reports or accounts of the case from any source at all, and that would include, of course, newspapers, television, or radio, but would also include internet sources, Facebook, social networking, or anything like that. And have no contact with any of the participants in the trial, including parties, counsel, or witnesses. 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, you're to be present at the jury room to be brought up there from there by court personnel. You're going to be leaving your notepads on your seats. You're going to be wearing your badges home back tomorrow morning. Now, does counsel for either side have anything you wish to put on the record before we recess, at least as far as the jury is concerned, we send the jury home?
No, thank you.
Anything further from the state today on the record?
No, Your Honor.
Then we are in recess until all right, now, jury is exited the courtroom. The state played, was it 20? So we began at you played 20 tapes, is that what you played? How many?
No, there was 21 slides, but I think it was only 13 calls, Your Honor, but I can let you know that.
Oh, that's right, some of them were
Text messages.
Text
and
messages.
just cover sheets and stuff, so I think it was 13 calls, Your Honor.
and it's the court's understanding that defense counsel wishes to have the complete recording played on 3 more of those, is that correct?
Yes.
That would be what numbers?
Sure, Judge. It was State's Exhibit WW15, which is call number 1586, and it's 15 minutes and 53 seconds. It's a call between George Wagner and Andrew.
That's 15?
15 minutes, and it's WW15.
WW15. And it's 15 minutes. All right, the other one, next one is?
The next one is WW14, which is call number 1803. It's a 13-minute and 41-second call between Jake and Andrew Wagner. And then the final one is 5183, which is W21, which is a 4-minute phone call between George and Chris Newcomb.
4 minutes?
4 minutes and 4 seconds.
Now, counsel for each side has a transcript or of these phone calls. I do not. I assume I'll be provided one. The counsel for the state does and is familiar, I assume familiar with what these calls contain. Defense counsel has a transcript and has had a little bit of time to go over them. Well, I think we've had these exchanged a long time ago. I don't know if it's been a year, but it's been a long time. So maybe counsel could argue, and then I could look at the transcript to determine, help determine this. But these, defense counsel is arguing these are relevant in some manner to some issue before the court, the balance of the tapes that were not played, the portions thereof that were not played by the state?
Yes, Judge. We're happy to provide you with our copy of the transcript if that helps, or we can provide you with the calls themselves, however the court wants to review it. As you can tell from these telephone calls are very clear, as the court can recognize. There's not really any trouble on these telephone calls, which is fortunate. But on 1586, which is the next one we wanted to play, that's a call between George and Angela. And, the problem is, Judge, that whatever excerpt the state plays, the jury is left with the impression that was the only thing talked about in the phone call. And I think that is misleading when it's a small snippet. For example, the last call, I believe they played the first 2 minutes and 20 seconds or so of a 13-minute conversation. And the jury's left with the impression that's what the call was all about. When obviously that wasn't the case. It was about many different things. So the jury needs to have a context of these calls, especially in a conspiracy case, where they're only taking out the snippets and the portions they think are relevant when the entire recording needs to be put into context. And some of the items mentioned are relevant to other parts of the evidence in the case. And so with this next one, 1586,
is that number 15 you're talking about?
Yes, WW15, call number 1586. That's the 15-minute, 53-second conversation. I don't want to read this into the record, so to speak, and waste your time. You can either read it or listen to it. But we believe there are portions here that are important, including a statement by George where he's commenting about, I believe this is the digs, and he's talking about how people from Facebook and topics down there run around taking videos, going in and out of everything. Somebody's worried about people planting evidence. He's talking about other things later on. He's talking about him and Jake. And then at the very end, you heard the very end, where he's talking about buying a cricket rifle for his son. So they played the cricket rifle at the end, they played a little bit at the beginning, but they left out the bulk of it in the middle to put this conversation in any sort of context. So, we think 1586 in its entirety, all 15 minutes and 53 seconds are relevant, and the jury needs to hear that. So they can put the portions the state wants them to consider in some sort of context. With respect to 1803, which is the next one, it's 13 minutes and 41 seconds. It's a call between Jake and Angela.
That's number 14.
Yes, it's WW14, call number 1803. The state played the beginning of that, and then they stopped. And there's much more between Jake and Angela that we think the jury needs to hear to put all that into context. And it's relevant to the case. And the final one is WW21, I believe it is. States Exhibit WW21. It's only 4 minutes long, 4 minutes and 4 seconds. It's between George Wagner and Chris, and they stopped. They played the beginning portion, but then they stopped. And we think that the whole thing needs to be complete to put it into context once again, so the jury doesn't take anything out of context. So these are the items we want to have played in their entirety. There could have been others, but these are the ones we chose.
All right, on behalf of the state, I'm sorry.
If I may, I just wanted to add one thing. I think Mr. Parker went over that, but so we heard a lot of conversation on the phone about what are they digging, what are they looking for, what's going on behind the barns. Had we heard the entire message, there would have been some discussion or some concern that the new owner, because if you recall, the Peterson Road property where the digs are occurring had recently been bought by another person, and that there was some discussion about that person not knowing that this investigation was going on, wasn't told and could potentially have some lawsuit against the Wagners for the destruction of their property. And so there was just that part that we didn't hear, but that could put the concern in perspective about digging the property.
Which call?
That's on 1586. I'm not sure, I know it's 1586, and I'm not sure what the prosecution label it as.
It's WW 15.
15?
Yes.
All right. Now, on behalf of the state, let's deal with that. Let's deal with that one first. I'm not sure what is in the transcript. Counsel is indicating that there's a discussion there about the possibility of a lawsuit because BCI is digging up a farm that was sold to the new owner. So let's deal with that one first. I mean, is that in there? And if it's in there, is it being argued that that's not relevant to the conversation?
Yeah, so 1586, I'm trying to find it, Your Honor, because that's not. So the first part of it we put in because they're discussing the rental property for the family that will be rented in George's name. That was the very narrow scope that we put in. Anything else that is not on that topic of the house going in George's name is not pertinent. And
So that one wasn't the one that dealt with digging up the farm?
No, not at all.
Maybe,
So, I mean,
was it a different one than Mr.?
I mean, maybe later on, so, again, there's all kinds of things that are in that there may be other things in the conversation. To the extent that there is some misleading on the part of the state, you heard Ms. Eveslage say that the length of the call is on those transcripts. So, the fact that we played a 2-minute portion, some of these we played all of them, I would note for the record, first of all. But others of them, if we played a certain amount, she said it was a portion of it. And they certainly have brought out that, the length of them, so that the jury knows that there was multiple other things that were discussed at that time, that had nothing to do with what we were talking about. But there's all kinds of things that are not pertinent to anything that we put in with that particular call, right? So call 1586 is Angela and George Wagner discuss a rental property for his family that will be rented in George's name. That the amount of the call that we put in is the only part of that call that talks about that topic. So certainly I can see that, the defendant would like to put in the remainder of anything that he says, because again, that's like him being able to testify. But it's not pertinent. It does not eliminate confusion or distortion of the facts on behalf of the state. It's not like the whole rest of the conversation they talk about, well, yeah, I know you guys want to put the house in my name, but I'm not going to do that, or blah, 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 blah. It's nothing like that. I mean, and that's what it would need to be to say that we've somehow been misled with the portion that we put in, and that the rule of completeness out of fairness requires the whole thing. No, he just wants to put in the rest of the conversation. We should not be precluded to putting in relevant evidence that is damning against the defendant, because we don't want him to be able to testify as to all this other stuff without ever taking the stand. Let's see, the other one. I mean, this whole thing about being stopped by the Canadians, first of all, there's a call later where Jake says that's not even true. He's talking to his dad and says that's not even true, the way George described it. But it has nothing to do with BCI at all. It has nothing to do with this case at all. And so, and it's certainly not pertinent to any topics that we put in during these phone calls. I don't know which other ones they said. 1803. Sorry, it's, there's
1583, which is 21.
21?
Yes.
So this is George calls to tell Chris Newcomb not to talk about George or Jake anymore. Again, that is completely, they go on to talk about Danny's in the hospital and do you have his room number and all that stuff. It has
Who in the hospital?
Danny, his uncle Danny. I think it's the uncle of George and Jake. And it literally has nothing to do with Chris Newcomb not talking about George or Jake to anyone anymore. So again, like, you know, the remainder of the phone call has nothing to do with that topic. If it did, then absolutely they should be able to. Again, it's the misleading thing. It's if he says, you know, George tells him, don't talk to anybody, okay, but just give you a heads up. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Don't talk to anybody about us anymore. Don't say nothing. And then 2 sentences later, he says, I mean, unless you want to, I can't tell you not to, or I don't care if you do, or something like that. That's not what's going on here, Your Honor. It's not like we're hiding part of the conversation that is relevant to this topic and leaving the jury with a misleading interpretation of that. So again, you know, to the extent that the rest of the conversation is pertinent to what the topic that we put in, absolutely. But we did not do that in any of these calls. So again, it's just a way for the defendant to be able to introduce his testimony without taking the stand and being subject to cross-examination. So, you know, to that extent, and mostly, I just want us to adopt an approach to this at this moment. Quite honestly, I mean, some of this stuff, you know, I think is damning to them. You know, so if they want to put it in, and that's, you know, that's on them. But I want us to adopt an approach now because there's all kinds of these things coming up.
All kinds of what?
All kinds of these things coming up. I mean, the 2018 Intercept wire is, you know, 4 or 5 times as much as this information that you've just heard.
And the state intends to introduce that?
Yes, absolutely, because there's extremely damning stuff against the defendant specifically. So, you know, again, I think we need to be thoughtful about our approach. And again, I know the court is extremely, you know, thorough in your examinations of all things related to evidence. But, you know, I just didn't want to sit by and just, you know, suggest that this is an okay approach that, you know, 15 minutes of the conversation comes in because we played 3 minutes, and the remaining 15 minutes have 0 to do with those first 3 minutes. You know, so I just, and I think the court could see that if we, you know, we give you the transcripts and show you what portions we played compared to the remainder. You know, they just go off on these tangents, right? I mean, this whole thing of the Canadian border, again, that has nothing to do with us. That was not the Montana border. This was when they were going back to Alaska.
And the argument for the defense is that it takes somehow the part that we played with the state out of context. Is that the argument?
That's part of the argument, Judge, and some of this relates to other evidence in the case. But, you know, they play the first 2 minutes, let's say this last phone call between George and Chris Newcomb. You know, they play the first portion of this 4-minute conversation. And it sounds like the only thing he's calling Chris about is, you know, don't say anything to anybody type thing. All right, when that's really, was that said? Yes, you can't dispute what's on there. But when you put it in context of the rest of the phone call.
Which is what?
They talk about their Uncle Dan. They talk about who had a medical issue in his hospital. All right. George talks about everybody being greedy. Who cares if they're innocent or not? They'll just get the reward money. That's how some people are. He goes, yeah, it irritates me. And then, you know, this goes on for, you know, a total of 4 minutes. But the jury's left with the impression that George is just making this call to tell Chris not to talk anymore without any context as to what else is going on in their lives. And that George, you know, it is what it is. They're the ones that want to introduce this. And in fairness, they need to introduce the whole thing so the jury understands the context. And it's relevant to not only the evidence that's been admitted, but evidence that is very likely. And, you know, I'm glad the prosecutor brought up these 2018 tapes. These are the so-called R&L intercepts from the work trial, which will be voluminous, I assume. But once again, as we stand here now, did we get all those? Yes. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of recordings. But we don't know which ones they're going to play.
All right, well, it's going to be hard for the court to decide whether this is relevant or not without hearing it, unless the transcripts are the parties, know what's on the tapes and you see what's on the transcripts. Are those accurate and sufficiently detailed for the court to know what's on these tapes, or do we have to listen to them?
Judge, I don't have a problem with the transcripts for you reviewing those, but I also think it's important the tone of voice in some of these things can be important when you're listening to it, because some things just don't translate to the written page. So we would ask the court to listen and use the transcript as a guide if you like.
Well, are you going to play them here on the record for me then, or what are
We can give the thumb drive.
There's a thumb drive right here.
I mean, you can listen to it on your own time, or we
Which
can
is those 4 calls.
sit here and play it.
Yeah, I think we need to also provide the court with what was played, the portion that was played by the state, right? Which
Would be in the transcript. That would be in our transcript.
kind of.
No, the one.
the whole recording is not together anyplace?
We have the whole recordings right here in the thumb drive. Yes,
Okay.
so we can pull that out and submit it to the court. You can listen to it. We can play it here in open court. However the court wishes to do it, and thinks would be best. We would like to get you at least a transcript or a portion so you can see what we did play.
I believe that was marked, wasn't it? The portion.
What'd you say?
The portion, I think when you examine the witness, you had her identified transcript.
Yes.
We did.
Because someone did not offer.
Say it again.
We can get you the transcripts of the portion that we played, Your Honor. In addition to thunder. Just whether we're doing it in open court or whether or not we're submitting.
And I suppose that.
However you want to do it.
Well, we need to make a record, I think, somehow.
Right.
So if we're going to make a record, it just about have to be played here in court.
Okay.
Let me ask one thing before we play these things. As far as cross-examination is concerned, is it the state's position then that the defense cannot ask the witness whether there was additional subject matter discussed in the context of the?
No, Your Honor, I think that's perfectly appropriate to say that, this phone call was 13 minutes and 53 seconds, and you only played 2 minutes and 20 seconds of it. And that conversation occurred at the beginning of the call, correct? Yes. And there was many other things discussed on that call. It wasn't just about this. Yes.
It would be.
I think that's appropriate.
It would be inappropriate for cross-examination to go as, well, isn't it true that my client said this? Or isn't it true that my client said that? That's, again, just allowing the defendant to testify without taking the stand. But as far as crossing on, there's more, how much more, they ask you, questions about other topics, or he talked about other topics. I think that's fine.
Judge, the best evidence are the recordings themselves.
But they're,
This is the state's evidence that they
We admitted the
gathered.
portions. We admitted the portions.
All right, so maybe we need to play the portions that weren't played before, and I will listen to them now.
So this is for the record. This is 1586, which is State's Exhibit, sorry, it was our 15.
Right. It would be our Wagner's Exhibit 26.
It's 15 minutes and 53 seconds long.
Hello?
Hey, sorry, I lost service.
It's all right.
Anyway, that guy there said, like, up here where he's at, he said, out here, there's no building permits, no nothing. You can build with people off, there's no inspections, no nothing.
Oh, wow. Well, anyway, where we're at, where we're getting this house at, I put it in your name. Where we're at out there, there's no one out there on that road except a welding shop.
Jake told me that. Let me ask you, is it close enough to town to run a B&B on it?
Probably.
You said there's 3 acres, didn't you?
No, there's 4.
4? Okay, well, can we
Yeah.
like knock 1 acre of it off in the far corner after we buy it?
Well, here's how this works. She won't sell it to us. She wants to sell it for owner finance, $180,000, okay? And it's nice. And the reason she's doing it is because she can't get anybody, they call it a mortgagite house. The guy that does her work for her, he does where they took, built over the house trailer and everything.
No, we
And,
built over like we did.
Except, here's the thing, it looks like you built a real nice cedar house with the cedar siding that lays on its side, you know?
Yeah.
Looks like you built one of those and stuck a house trailer through the middle of it because for some crazy reason they didn't go all the way to the ends of the house trailer. It'd be real easy to cover up.
Does it have the wings on the side of it?
Seriously looks like you just built a little square house, like, you know, with cedar siding. They went way up. Got a full basement underneath of it that's actually livable, like a room.
Yeah.
And, don't stop it. And, but they let the house trailer stick out on each end so far because they were going to finish covering it up and they just never got to it. But the bank will not. Listen, a couple people have tried to get loans. And for some reason, I guess because they did it that way, she's saying that the bank won't loan, they won't loan on it. So she wants to sell it as an owner finance. But here's what she wants to do. She's had several people go in there and say, yes, we want to do this. So anyway, she redone it. Well, anyway, here's what she wants to do. She wants us to, I leased it for a year, so we're going to rent it for a whole year, okay?
Yeah.
At the end of that year, if we still like it and don't want to leave, which we won't because it's perfect for us, then she is going to take, she wanted 25% down. She'd come down to 15%. But she said she would work with us if we really were interested with it at the end of the year. So she'll probably only want like 10% down.
Okay, so
right.
So here's my thing.
We have to give her $1,000. Go ahead. We have to give her $1,000 deposit, which that comes off of your down payment later.
Okay. What I'm saying is, when they built over it, did they just build like a siding on most of it, or did they add rooms on the side of it?
No, they added rooms.
So basically like the old cedar house.
Yes, but they didn't do the whole entire trailer. On each end, there is a section of the trailer sticking out.
So they basically just built a room in the center of it.
Right.
Instead of finishing the 2 ends like we did all the way down.
Right, but it is completely finished, like the part they added on is finished.
Yeah.
It's not like the end isn't OSB and the side, you know, it's completely finished. And it looks real nice and neat, and it wouldn't be that hard. It will not be hard at all to finish covering it up so you cannot see the trailer at all. But we can't do anything like that.
That's what I am asking. How big is the pieces that did not get finished? Are they big enough to make another room on, or?
Oh, yeah.
So I can go ahead and finish it up all the way down what looks like the old cedar house, put a porch around it.
Yes.
Yes?
But here's the difference with this one. This one has a full basement.
Okay, is it the full basement underneath the wings too, or?
I don't know that. I think it's under the trailer and the add-on.
Okay, how wide is
They got a big wood, they got a big, I don't know. I sent you a picture, you didn't get it?
No, I never got them. You sent them my other phone.
Okay, well, I'll send you one. Have you got service right now?
As of right now, yeah, but anyways, we're in Palmer right now, which is like 30 miles from Anchorage, I think. So we'll get through Anchorage, and then we'll be down there probably 2 hours and 15 minutes or so.
Okay, well, listen, if you need to stop for anything, all those little stores on the Stewart Highway between Anchorage and here that were closed when we came through the first time, all that stuff's open up now.
Yeah, that guy said it's busy this time of year. I stopped at the...
It is, if not, George, it is, it's still, it's not, It's busy,
I know
it's
that.
still not.
I know, this is what I'm trying to tell you, though. You remember the guy we stopped on my Stewart Highway with, he got the jerky, the old man?
Yeah,
Well, that's Grandpa, okay? He Jake just stopped
Yeah.
on the Toke Highway here and found grandson. See, the grandpa, his son, is the one that takes the jerky. Well, grandpa and grandson, and the elk and this hot pepper stuff, it's so hot I can't eat it. But
okay, where is Jake?
in front of me.
Oh,
But anyways, that kid said that he said he sells between 150 and 200 bags of that jerky a day. They're in tourist
oh
season.
my gosh.
They're in tourist season. Okay? He said he sells 7 days a week because he's only up here for 5 months. He lives in Utah, the kid does.
Right.
Apparently Grandpa lives in somewhere else, and I think his dad lives somewhere else. I don't even think they all live here. They only come up for tourist season.
Okay.
But anyways, he works as a diesel mechanic in Utah at his buddy's shop all winter, comes up here and sells jerky all winter, or all summer.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just in the summer, now I'm assuming it takes a lot of the buffalo and the elk and the deer and everything to butcher it. But he said that between him and his grandfather, with what they sell a day at tourist season, they make about $800,000.
Huh?
Yeah,
They make $800,000 selling jerky?
in 5 month period here.
How much do they spend buying it?
He said profit, him and his grandpa and his dad profit between 90 and 100 each per year. So they spend about $500,000 with the seasonings and the processing fees and buying the meat off the farmers, and they buy it off of elk farmers and buffalo farmers and stuff.
Right.
He said they spend about $500,000 a year on all their stuff to get it there, and their expenses for traveling and staying out here and stuff. He said they clear about 90 to 100 each.
Wow.
And then he clears another, like 70, I think he said, off being a diesel mechanic in the winter down there in Utah.
Wow, I hope nothing goes wrong when we get to stay.
I do too, because this place is a moneymaker.
I know.
I just don't want to have to leave, Mom. I'm trying to have to drag me out of here. I'm not doing it.
I don't either.
And now Jake, he's stressed out again because they're down there destroying that piece of property and he's scared to death that Dwayne's going to get mad at him.
Well, he can't do nothing to us, George. We have no control over that.
I know that, Mom, but still, you know, he can say that you never told me you were going to be investigating, they were going to destroy it. I mean, we never knew, but...
Yeah, I know that, and he could sue us. I know it said, George, but it would take forever because we have no control over that.
I know that.
And I
you know what?
understand
I don't see how
that.
they have the right to go down there with a freaking backhoe and bobcat and dig everything up.
Okay, let me explain something to you. I told Jake this, okay? When they went out to Granny, whenever they came to the window, she asked them, she said, what are you doing here? You got a warrant? And that Jenny woman, that agent, that Jenny that stayed with her the last time, you know?
Yeah.
That was there. Her and a guy, and there was another car, 2 guys in it out there. Well, the Jenny and that other BTI agent, he got out and he comes to the window. They didn't let him in. They just opened that kitchen window, right?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Granny came out of the bathroom and Robin was talking to someone through the window and she was telling them, you know, that she was fighting with them, telling them to leave, that they wasn't welcome there.
Yeah.
So when Granny got over there, Granny asked him, said, what are you doing here? You know, do you have a search warrant? And that's what they said. Same thing supposedly Blaine said. They said, no, we don't need a search warrant. We're just here for a courtesy call. We just thought you could answer some questions for us.
Yeah, but see,
They were hoping, now wait, here's the thing. They were hoping that she would just fall for it and be like, oh, okay, anyway, they hung around a while and tried to ask her questions anyway. And then she said, hey, look, I've had enough. You've done it, you've made me mad, you've ruined my family, you've ruined our business, you know, we didn't do anything, and you're out here harassing us. I've had enough. You don't have a search warrant, you need to leave. They didn't have no search warrant.
Did they leave? Because see, what they told Dwayne that they were giving him a courtesy call, that they were searching the place. I guess Dwayne actually had a search warrant and said, we don't really need one, but it's in the mail on its way to you. You'll get it eventually.
They can't do that.
That's what they told Dwayne.
See, they cannot do, they can't
And
do that.
Dwayne,
Won't they just,
the first time they searched the fence then, well, that was after the first time, he still ain't got the search warrant from it in the mail. He hasn't
never
seen a
did?
single search warrant, not one.
even the first time they searched?
No, he hasn't seen no search warrant.
Well, then nothing that they get down there is permissible. There's nothing they're gonna find anyway. But nothing that they get is permissible. They have to have a search warrant.
I know that, it doesn't matter, anything that gets not permissible anyway, because they have the Manleys down there and the Rhoden, they're a bunch of dud-tards, and they had all these people from Facebook and Topics down there running around taking videos going in and out of everything, saying here's this, here's that, I know they're guilty, I know they are. Who's to say they didn't go down there and be the ones who knows what happened and who done it, and then plant something to scream, oh, they done it, I know it was them, and then the BCI got down there to find it, and they planted it.
Well, anyway, that's like I told guys too that,
They finally replaced it, because after we left, we were out there for 4 days before they searched it. And now we've been out of there for over a month. There's nothing down there, even if somebody planted something, there's nothing from us. If they do find something, somebody had to plant it. Which means it's still not permissible, because it was no longer ours and we weren't there. And we have people, and we can prove that April, Manley, and Chelsea are deliberately making up lies to try and fix Jake. So they're so vindictive, the Manleys and Chelsea is, that they were probably involved with the freaking thing, and they had evidence of it, and they deliberately went down there and planted it to try and fix Jake so they could blame it on him and get out of it themselves.
well, I don't know. We'll talk about it when you get here, but, I don't know, but I'm gonna call the attorney tomorrow and I'm
You
gonna
need to tell him this stuff, and tell him, you wanna know even if somebody plants something down there, it's not gonna be submissible, is it or not? You need to ask him.
I will tomorrow. I'll ask him and I'll see what
Nobody's
he
been
says.
out there to keep people out of that freaking place, and who knows who's planted what.
Okay, hey, George, that's fine. We'll talk about it when you get here. Now, listen, I gotta tell you something. I know I'm upset. You're upset.
They're severely ticking me off. Did Jake tell you about BCI today?
All about the car?
Yeah, but I came through the border, and like 10 miles outside of the border, I looked in my rearview mirror. And when I came through the border, there was 9 cars behind me. All pickup trucks, all looked like freaking Mad Max Warrior machines and Burt Gummer's deuce and a half shredded by the shriekers off number 2 Tremors.
Right.
Mine and Jake's truck looks like that too, I might add, with parts hanging off of them and crap falling off everywhere. But anyway, nothing nice and clean. 10 miles down the road, there's little shiny, like, dark charcoal gray car with dark black windows that's slowly creeping along behind me. If I slow down, it slows down. And I kept looking because my mirror was dirty. I couldn't see it real well, so I cleaned my mirror off. When I looked back, I could barely see it because it was fairly far back. And I'm like, there's no other tag in America that has a red band around it. And then I looked at the back of the trailer tag on Jake. Identical, freaking Ohio plates. And this car was spotlessly freaking clean without a speck of dust or dirt on it anywhere.
Hey, listen, let me ask that. Now, there is an Alaska plate that looks like a Ohio plate, but it's not.
No, it passed me, Mom, but the minute I realized it was a Ohio plate, I hollered at Jake, told him to put his forward on and pull over real quick, and then I'd hang back. And I hung back, they passed me, and when they passed me, it was kind of like the Ricky Bobby, shake and bake thing. Jake hit his forward when I hit the brakes, and they passed me. It was too late for them to get back in behind Jake, and they passed me. Sure enough, Ohio plates. And the minute they passed, I floored it, got right back behind them, and I had to wait up on Jake. They literally went from creeping along behind me to where when they seen that I busted them, and they floored it down the freaking road like 120, and me and Jake ain't seen them since.
We'll
So they went from creeping along behind me to running 120 freaking miles an hour where I couldn't even keep up with them.
Yeah. Well, look. Everything will be fine. I'm just some face and everything will be fine.
Well, anyways, I'll go drive back up to Coke once I get my license changed and address and stuff. Because, you know how Brian had his camo gun?
Yeah.
I have to buy another one that's camo for it, but they sell a Cricket up there at that little gun store in Coke. But it looks like a Navy SEAL sniper rifle. It's like a little tan military camo grade, some old stock on it, a little ported barrel with like extended length. But it's a Cricket. That's what it is. It's a modified Cricket.
Yeah. Hey, let me talk to Jake real quick and I'll call you right back, okay?
Okay, well, anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I want to go buy it for him.
All right, okay, that's fine, love you.
Well, I'm curious, what's the state, why does the state feel that the part that the state played is relevant to the case?
As far as the house being in George's name in Alaska, because in opening statements, they said he hated his family and was trying to get away from them, and that's clearly not true. And in an attempt to distance himself from the crimes and committing crimes with them. So that's why we thought it was pertinent, Your Honor. And it's going in George's name. They all four are living there. And you let them live there.
And the part that's exculpatory, you're saying shouldn't be brought in. Why?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The exculpatory portion of this about the
Well, because the law of completeness is to make sure that the jury is not left with some misconception of the portion that we did play, right? So we talked about the fact, we didn't talk about, George and his mom are talking about the fact that the house is going to go in George's name and all the purchasing stuff and how, whatever. And quite honestly, he also says he didn't want to leave, which is not something that we played. But the jury is not left with any misconception about that portion, and none of the rest of the conversation gives context to that portion, I guess.
The other thing I'd add too, Your Honor, is if he wants to make an argument that somebody could have planted shell casings out at that scene after they left, the proper way for him to do that under the rules of evidence is to take the stand and testify to that. You can't get self-serving statements in through extrinsic evidence. The defendant can't do that. So again, the rules of evidence don't allow for that type of statement to come in under these circumstances. That Arrington case, again, is pretty spot on with how the court should look at this evidence rule with respect to just fairness of these types of statements.
All right, so, and you've made your arguments. Do you have a further argument than what you already made?
I don't think so on this one. We could go on and play Exhibit 27.
All right, so let's play the next one. The next one is what number?
That was WW14, which is call 1803, which would be marked as Wagner Exhibit 27. It's about 13 minutes long.
Hello.
Anyway, I was saying with our trucks are filthy. The car was not. The car had a woman driving it with no luggage in the car, except it could have been a trunk, but there was a car with no luggage.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, about that, it was a BCI.
Probably. Did she just drive by you?
But they passed. She passed us when we pulled over on top of the hill, kind of slow pull over so she could get around. Kind of like we could kind of be courtesy to her. But when she went around, she flew. Got boom, out. And then, once we seen it was a high tag, and it looked like a BCI car, it's like it's dragging away from inside my truck's engine. And we took off like a rocket. I don't know how my truck even did it. Just took off like a rocket. Even uphill. I was going 70 uphill. And we was catching up. And I kid you not. As soon as it was like we was quiet, I'm on the phone. Anyway, we were starting to catch up. We was probably maybe not even 100 yards from her. And she floored it. Then she went like a rocket.
Wow.
She escaped. I have no idea where she went. She escaped. And it was a rough road. And she just bounced, gone.
Oh, gosh. Well, anyway, it probably was, Jake. They're wasting 10 tons of money.
Oh, I know what they're doing, too. I know. If it was BCI, I know why she's here. You know why?
Why?
Because they're searching until tomorrow. They're down there at the farm. That way,
Right.
if they found something, she's right here to nail us.
True.
I know,
True.
Mr. Frankie.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen a bunch of crazy. I don't
Well,
know
that's
if
all right.
anyone's been following. I don't know if anyone's been following us or not, but you know, every once in a while you see crazy people.
Oh, their mom. Okay.
Anyway, though, are you doing okay? I mean, you guys are all right. I know your truck's messing up, but you're all right?
We know trucks this now.
Well, you've had a few issues with it, but other than that, are you okay?
I ain't got very many issues, but one, the radiator exploded. What did it? And two, it was mechanic error, and the fan clutch caught the wire. They ripped it together. And then the only thing is all those bumps out through there, and the vibration caused the power steering column to fall off.
Well, I got your new parts for you. They came in today, so I stopped to pick them up. I got them in the hotel room.
Okay, well, what did you get?
AC condenser and the new fan clutch fan, however you say it.
Okay. Well, I told George to tell you not to get the AC condenser because it don't need AC.
Oh, well, you can take it back. I got the receipt.
How much was
You
it?
wanted let's see, it was $241 for the clutch fan and $150 some, I think, or something like that for the AC condenser.
Okay. I mean, I don't need it right now. We can return it if we need the money.
Well, I don't know, Jake, whether or not that's just up to you. I ordered them. They came in, I had to order them. I picked them up this morning for you to make sure that you had to have them. If you needed them, so they're here. If you need them, if you don't, that's up to you. But the other thing is, I sent that guy that application, so he should be getting back with me here any minute. And then everything will be fine, and then we'll go out there tomorrow evening and look at everything. And Sophie, though, I got to tell you something. You don't have to give her thank you. I already thank you, but she was so bad on that plane, Jake. Oh my gosh. She bit me on the plane.
Oh my.
She broke the television on the plane.
Oh my.
Yeah, they have TVs now in the back of the seat where you can watch like new releases, like New Beauty and the Beast and the Shipwreck movie. You can watch all of them, right?
Yeah.
And every seat has one. And Born was watching Beauty and the Beast. Then he watched the Doggy movie. Then he watched Mickey Mouse and Lion Guard. He played those video games. And Sophie wouldn't leave hers alone. She still. She done that flopping and kicking and screaming on the plane. And then I tried to hug her and everything, and she bit me and screamed that I'm hurting her to let go.
I hope you switched your butt.
I did. When we got back to the hotel, and then when the hotel, oh my gosh, we got on a taxi, and got to the hotel, and oh my goodness, so we got to that hotel, and I had her on her little owl, and she would not stop trying to jerk me across the floor and stuff. So when I got her to the room, I gave her a spanky. And then today, she was kind of bad all week doing the same thing the whole time. And then today we got the taxi to come down here, and it's about 2.5 hour drive, right? Oh my gosh, she done the same thing. She pulled Wolverine's hair, hit Wolverine in the face. Tried to rip the guy's credit card machine apart. It was horrible. She did the same thing. She bit me again and started screaming I was hurting her.
Did you spank her again?
Yep. Sure did. I mean, she's been mean to Bullvine. Oh my gosh, she has been so mean. And I know some of it is because, she misses you really bad, and Bullvine misses his daddy and stuff, but oh my gosh, she's been being mean to him so much, it's not funny. I mean, I'm not saying not taking up for herself, I'm saying, like, she's been starting fights on purpose with him. And maybe she might just be acting out a little bit or something, but, and on the plane, I got to tell you something. Do you ever buy plane tickets off of like Expedia or something like that, like I did? And it tells you the last 4 seats? Don't think they're joking. They're telling the truth. We got the last 4 seats, so can you imagine where we were?
The back.
We were on the very back. We were right next to the bathroom, which was... Did George tell you that?
Who?
BCI.
BCI was here for?
I'm pretty sure it was, well, either BCI or somebody, because they were watching us. And when you get in the line to go through security, there were guys watching this in suits on the top, like the top where the business offices are in the airport. And then when we got in line to go through security, it was like, you got hundreds of people in Seattle, going through that line, right? It's like a zigzag, like loop-de-loop, okay? And you're going through it, and when you get down there to the last little section, they had a Irish setter there that was a dope dog. And they had her there with these 2 guys, and they had security tags on and stuff. I don't know if they were for the airport or not, but they had security tags on. They had that dog, and they were about 10 people in front of us. They started, just 10 people in front of us, they started taking that dog past their bags, right? Well, I had my blue bag that I had, with my medicine and stuff in it, and I tried to stick it past Bullvine so the dog could smell it so that there wouldn't be no interruptions or anything. Well, they totally bypassed me, but when we got next to your dad, he ran the dog around Dad's bag twice. And then as soon as he went around Dad's bag, the guy that was up there at the corner waiting 10 people ahead of us said, "That's good, we don't need to do it no more, thanks."
Yeah.
So they were there.
Oh, I know. They're watching us. They're following us or whatever. Yeah, they're probably going to do it until they find somebody else to take on.
Yeah, I would say so. But I got to tell you, something else too. I talked to the guy, that has my car, because I had to send him a copy, of the title and everything.
Yeah.
And he said nobody had been there to look at the car, and it was getting ready to Tuesday. They took it down, and it was getting ready to go on the barge. But I don't know if anybody went down there and looked at it. But he said nobody had been there near asking anything about it. But that Brenda Richardson in those stupid groups, on Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, she said some good stuff about it, and then she said some horrible stuff. She sent me a message, Facebook message last night, and said she's starting a group that's just specifically for the Forbes-based, so that people can share photos of them and stuff, and they will have a place where they can go later on in life and see pictures of each other, right, as they growed up.
True that.
No one's allowed to. Yeah, I don't know. Wait a minute. No one's allowed to talk about the case or anything. It's just for fun. And she begged me to join that group, right? And she sent me a picture collage of one for Sophie that she had made and posted in that group. And I'm going to have you look at it, but she has a bunch of pictures in that I have no idea where she got them.
Okay, I'm going to find her group, and I'm going to send her a message. She's going to remove every single photo of Sophie off of that group. Well, I'm going to sue her.
Yeah, you need to do that, because she made a collage all the way. She took pictures of Sophie when she went to the hospital that day. Remember when she was down at the hospital getting ready to have surgery in that little gown?
Yeah, I know.
She has those pictures on there. She's got pictures of you in the very beginning, she's got all, it's a big bunch of pictures. There's probably 20-some photos in one little collage that she made. And she's got it posted on there, and there's, that's what I haven't said nothing to her yet.
That's a public group for any person in the world to look at.
I know that.
Okay,
The only thing I said to her was, I didn't know if I would join or not. I would consider it, but right now I'm so untrusting of everybody because of what they had, the ridicule and everything that they put us through, that I'm not sure, but I would let her know, because I wanted to wait, and then, I don't want to say no, because that will leave a way for us to contact her, but we do need to contact her and tell her you want them. You don't give them permission, you want them off.
No, I'm running this. It's not going to be no polite message either. I'm going to message, look, my mother told me you messaged her, told about this new group. Okay, I want the new group. That's okay. I'm not adding my daughter in that group. I'm not joining that group. That's a public group for the world to see. And I want every single photo you have. I don't care who else is in the photo. If it's got my daughter in, you are going to remove it and delete it. Well, I'm going to sue you, or sue you for something, or I'm not going to start again. That's like a basic private.
I don't know, Jake. I don't know. It depends on where she got the photos. I don't know, that's quite okay. See, I've done some research on that because,
It doesn't matter where you got the photos.
you know that crazy Heath Johnson that is, friends with you?
I'm at 60, George.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, Tabby's husband messaged him and told him that he was going to sue him for defamation for the bad stuff he's been saying about Tabby, and told him, said, you just keep slapping your dog, Heath Johnson.
Oh, my.
But anyway, listen, I looked up a bunch of stuff about fake, because see, Tabby turned him in for having a fake Facebook, turned him into Facebook for having a fake Facebook, and Facebook done some research and said that they don't see where it is a fake Facebook, that it meets all the requirements, and there's nothing they can do. But I looked up on there about like fake Facebooks and stuff, if you can get in trouble for them. Because that Brenda woman said that if I wanted to join the group and didn't want to use my my Facebook, I could make a fake one, just tell her that what my fake one's name is, and they'll know that it's me. Now that's about weird, isn't it? Anyway, so I looked it up on that, and there's no law against having a fake Facebook unless you use it to stalk somebody or something like that.
Right. Okay, well, George is
going
too slow, so I'm going to have to get off here.
All right, well, where are you guys at?
Like 150, 180 miles or so like that, average.
Okay. All righty, well.
I'm alone, I gotta go.
All right, love you too. Bye.
Is that the end of them? So then we have, what was the other one, 14, 15,
The digital number was 1803. That's not right.
No, it's 5183.
5183.
No, you're right.
No, 1803.
Sorry.
The digital number is 1803, which is,
That's the one you just listed.
right, which was our exhibit 14B.
14, 15, and 21 is what I have in my notes here.
Right.
21 is next. That's call number 5183, which is about 4 minutes long.
You ready, Your Honor?
If you shoot it, I'll take it away.
What am I shooting?
Not you, I was talking to Pike. Anyways, don't talk
Hey, you hear about that?
anything about us or what's going on or the stuff that I sold before I left and stuff. Nobody.
What are you talking about?
Because Randy went down there talking to my grandfather and told him that he was helping you with that truck and wanted to know where all the guns and ammo that me and Jake sold and stuff was before we left.
He asked me about your papa having all them guns, all them old guns. So I had no idea that he sold them.
Well, he told Papa that you told him that me and Jake sold them and he wanted to know where they went.
No, Randy, the only guns he asked me about was them old guns that Grandpa had, them old rusted up things.
Yeah.
Those ones that was all back in the back.
He was trying to get Papa to tell him where all them ones that me and Jake sold before we left. I don't know why the heck he wants that unless he's trying to get that freaking reward, which he ain't going to get because BCI left them ones.
No, the only guns he even asked me about was your grandpa's. He didn't ask nothing about yours.
Well, Papa said that he told him that he was asking you about them, and you told him to ask Graham.
No, I mean, that's the only guns he asked about was them old junky guns your grandpa had back there forever.
Yeah.
The other ones that was rusted up and useless.
Yeah, ones wouldn't even shoot.
Yeah, those ones. And when he had all that big bunch of ammo.
I don't know, just heads up, so if anybody asks anything, just say I don't know.
No, there ain't no problem. Did you hear about Danny?
Yeah, I heard about him. I heard about last night.
Last night?
Yeah.
Your grandpa didn't even find out about it till today.
We only seen it because somebody on Facebook mentioned that they tagged Cousin Brian in it.
I'll be.
Yep. But anyway, I didn't know. Papa called and said that Randy was asking all kinds of questions. He probably wanted to speak with other trigger meetings and get that reward money.
You want Danny's room number and phone number?
What is it? We've already got it.
They said they've already got it.
Yeah, we already got it. I keep tabs on him.
Well, yeah, Frankie never asked me nothing about you guys.
probably said he was telling him that he was talking to you about it, that you didn't know where we sold them and stuff at. It doesn't matter, the BCI already knows where they all are.
Yeah.
But you got to
never asked nothing but if he did have things like you guys, you got your own business.
Yeah, well, everybody being freaking greedy, thinking, oh, well, who cares if they're innocent or not, I'll just get that reward money. Bunch of morons.
Don't worry about it, go to the end.
Yeah, it irritates me. Yeah, freaking Randy, he ain't no saint anyway.
No, Lord, no, he ain't.
Motherfucker. Anyways, did you ever get that gift for Bucky come in?
What address did you send it to?
Mom, what address did you send Bucky's gift to? The post office box? Or? It's got both addresses, so I don't know which one it went to, the house or the post office for Granny.
Well, we ain't got the house. Ain't got nothing here at the house yet. When was I trying to put it post office?
What is it?
Said she ain't checked the post office in about 3 days.
Probably there then. If it's not there, like check it today or Monday. If it's not there, let me know so I can call and ask
What
for
is
it.
today?
Today's Saturday.
Is it really Saturday?
Yeah.
I was thinking today was Tuesday.
No, it's Saturday, but if you check it by Monday or so, let me know if it's there. If it's not, I gotta call them and see what they did.
All right, will do.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Tell me I said hi and love.
All right, bye.
All right, well, the court will read the case that you cited and probably announce a decision on the evidentiary issue tomorrow morning. What, you want to give me that site again?
Yeah, I can do that, Joe. I actually got it right up here. It's State versus Arrington, and it is, give me 1 second. It's that 5th District, it's 2012 Ohio 4472. Do you use Westlaw?
Or is it? No, just give me the high. It's 2012 Ohio
4472. Or that's State versus Cuthbert. That's another one we wanted to present to you. That's Cuthbert. Let me give you Arrington. I apologize, Your Honor. Arrington is 2012 Ohio 5009. We'd want to draw the court's attention to both of those cases.
So one was 2012 Ohio 5009, and the other was 2012 Ohio 4472,
Your Honor.
Yep. Is there anything further we need to put on this record?
Judge, no, thank you very much for your patience today. I just want to final comment on these. Some of this information relates to other evidence in the case as well. So we just bring that to your attention.
What response do you have to the state's argument? Because I think it'd be particularly applicable to the part where to the tape or the recording, in which the defendant is saying things about, he's basically saying things about planning and all of this kind of thing. It's testimonial, practically, it sounds like. I'm just curious about what your response is to the state's argument that if he wishes to make those arguments, he should
Well, he
testify.
obviously has the right to testify or not, but the state is the one introducing, this recording. I've said before, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but things need to be put into context. If he's angry about something, then that needs to be put in context. If he's saying one comment, they should know. I mean, you can't send a 13-minute recording to the jury and only play 2 minutes of it for them, and it leaves everything in context. And they're going, well, what's on the other 12 minutes or 13 minutes or whatever the remainder is? And I know that if you submit an item like that, and the jury's going to say, well, can we have the other 10 or 12 minutes? Because they want to know what else is on there to put things in context, especially over a long period of time. There's many different subject matters. It may not be intentional, but it's misleading to only give them a small snippet of a significant conversation. And the other thing was the The witness testified that they minimized and did not record items they did not think were pertinent. And so these are obviously things that were recorded, and they did think they were pertinent.
And how does the state respond to that? I was thinking the same thing when we were playing this, is we have these gaps that are not supposed to be pertinent, but then we have all of this actually is recorded.
Yes, Your Honor. So, as you heard, they spot check, right? So, they come back on and listen, and a lot of times they don't know if it's going to be, if it's going to turn pertinent, in other words. I mean, there literally was one where they were going through a drive-through, and you think that that's not going to be pertinent, but all of a sudden they start talking about, the conversation. So they will sometimes capture non-pertinent conversation as a part of having to listen for a while to see if it's going to be pertinent, right? And again, whether it's pertinent or not is not really the question. The law of completeness is what we're looking at here. That's what they're relying on. And that is, again, if it provides context for that part of the statement that got put into evidence. And, when you're talking about buying a house in Alaska, and that's going to be in George's name, the fact that George thinks that people are planting evidence down in Peterson Road has nothing to do with that. So, it doesn't fit that law of completeness. So, it might be pertinent, right? I mean, it might be pertinent that, Angela's spanking Sophia. I mean, but it's not pertinent to the conversation that we entered into evidence. So that's how I would respond to that.
Just one final comment. The state's making a big deal out of family dynamics. And that's been the core of their case, family dynamics. Well, this is explaining some of the family dynamics.
I don't know if the state has some theory about why that conversation took place.
Which conversation?
Well, the conversation about somebody, about the defendant indicating somebody's planting something, and why?
That's his thoughts, his belief, and his testimony ultimately.
Yeah, well, I understand, but he's not talking to. He's talking to another family member who was allegedly a part of.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, they all three act like, we're all persecuted here, we're all completely innocent.
But why would they talk that way with each other?
Say that again?
Why would they talk that way with each other?
Because they know they're being recorded. They talk about it, don't talk on the phone, so Jake will testify that they knew they were being recorded and that they purposely were trying to throw their conversation. To throw us.
At the time these were made, you're saying that they knew they were being recorded?
Yes, so that's kind of part of the conspiracy, right, is the cover-up part.
And you notice a couple times in there, Angela would say, we'll talk about this when we get home, or I don't want to talk about this on the phone right now. Again, that's indicative of their consciousness of the fact that they're being recorded. And we'll have direct testimony that they knew right away that they were being recorded.
When they got in the car at the border.
No, Mr. Parker, anything further?
No, thank you.
All right. The court will read the case law. Thank you.
And later on, she say, I know you're listening to us drive. Oh, yeah. I can